East Tire and Auto. When looking for service, selection, quality, and value, no one does it better than JD's Tire and Auto in Alexander City. Offering any brand of tire you need with professional installation and fast turnaround. JD's Tire and Auto, the total package for all your vehicle needs.
You better buckle your seatbelts because it's going to be a show to watch.
From Tiger Communications.
Jackson, touchdown.
For 20 years, East Alabama's sports talk leader.
Swing and drive, Belton right.
Sportscall.
Oh, what a dunk.
Call in now at 887-3401 local.
Right through, he got it.
Or 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free.
Struck him out.
And now, coming to you live from the loveliest village on the plains. Sports Call.
Hello again, everyone, and good Tuesday afternoon. I am Andy Graham. He is Randy Lee, and this is Sports Call. We appreciate so much all of you out there joining us today, whether that be on 93.9 The Tiger or sportscallauburn.com via the internet. Got a great show planned for you today. A lot to get to on today's show, but we'd love for you to kind of tell us what you'd like to talk about. We'd love for you to be a part of the program today. So 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll free or locally at 334-887-3401 on the AO Tourism hotline are the numbers you can reach us. You can just, if you got any comments about any of the things that we talk about, if you'd like to bring up a new subject, by all means, give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Of course, Auburn defeated Texas A&M 26-10 over the weekend. Probably the most complete performance of the year for the Auburn Tigers, which was great to see. We'd love to get your thoughts on that. We'll kind of give our thoughts on that. This being the first time we've been on this week. A lot of interesting SEC games around the league this week, as well as some interesting games around the country. So we'll talk about those. The Auburn volleyball team upset Florida. First time that's happened, I believe, in 25 years. So that was a big deal that happened earlier or this past weekend. I think Friday, Saturday. But a big win for the Auburn volleyball program. They'll be in action this weekend. They'll be on the road. But the Auburn soccer team, they got good news. They're a number 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, as they weren't able to get it done in the SEC tournament. But they'll be hosting round 1 on Saturday night there at the Auburn soccer complex. So if you head into the Georgia game, it'll be at 11 o'clock. You can head back to your tailgate spot, do a little tailgate, and then maybe migrate over to the soccer complex and check out the Auburn women as they host Southeast Louisiana. I think we'll talk a little bit certainly more about that game. Southeastern Louisiana. They'll play them Saturday night at 6 o'clock. The Missouri protest, that's a big story around the country. It kind of supersedes sports, but it is involving the sports world. But certainly if you got any thoughts about that, by all means, give us a call. The new college football playoff poll will be out tonight, and Brian Matthews will join us today at 4:30. But again, very interesting weekend, very pleasant weekend for the Auburn Tigers. As you know, I'm not sure when we left Friday. I think we both felt like, Brett and I, that Auburn had a decent chance to go out there. I felt like Auburn would be able to run the ball against Texas A&M, but I'm not certain. I think I had a conversation with somebody off the air later on that day. I said, look, I think Auburn needs to run for 250 yards, but I'm just not convinced we can do that. And lo and behold, Auburn gets 311.
It's just a confidence level out there with the whole entire coaching staff and the players, it seemed like to me. And Jeremy Johnson had a lot to do with that, to be honest with you. You look at him, he goes 13 of 17 for 132, did have a touchdown, but he just looked so confident. I think that sometimes you look in a guy's eyes and you can tell that he's snake bit a little bit, which you saw JJ earlier in the year looking that way, then it kind of feeds off on the entire team. But we didn't see that. He looked like he had a whole different demeanor about him on Saturday, Andy.
Oh, yeah, there's no question about that. I think he said that he got the news that he was going to start on Thursday night, and Gus said he had been practicing well, but of course, we'd been told that Sean White was practicing, That was some misinformation there, but apparently he hasn't practiced really in 2 weeks. So Jeremy was getting all the first reps, and I thought it was a good game plan. And, certainly I think he played well. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The passes were crisp. They were on time. But, a lot of them were parallel to the line of scrimmage. We all of a sudden found the slant route, which where's that been all year? But I thought it was a good game plan to get him comfortable, to not, make him do a whole lot. We felt like we could run the ball, and we did. But, I go back, and Auburn won by 2 touchdowns and two two-point conversions, okay? Auburn won the game by 16 points on the road in the SEC. I am not complaining at all at this point, but my goodness, Auburn, the first 2 drives just go right down the field. And obviously the game plan was to get on the perimeter. There's a lot of jet sweeps. We did a lot of buck sweeps. We did it to receivers. We did it to running backs. We got Javon Robinson involved. We ran between the tackles. But we threw those screens, wide receiver screens. The perimeter blocking in this game was by far the best it's been all year. And, we threw those quick slant patterns, all this. We went down, we scored 2 touchdowns. And then I think 8 out of the next 9 plays we run between tackles. I mean, it's like we go down, we score 14 points, and we're like, well, that worked, but whatever we do, let's not do that again. And, I mean, in the first half, and we could have scored 28 points in the first half instead of just 14, and I don't understand why we go away from a game plan that's obviously working.
Trying to show something different is the only thing that I can guess, but I've been with you all year on that. That I think we could have run the football a lot more than we have at times, especially with the tempo they were able to go up there and do. And you don't look down at a stat line with Jeremy Johnson and say, wow, there's the Heisman Trophy candidate that we said. No, I mean, he was 13 of 17 for 132 yards. So it was just 10 yards per pass completion average. It's not like he was throwing them down the field. Did have that one great third down conversion late in the football game that really iced the football game, a huge play there. But, Andy, more than that, it is just the emergence of Javon Robinson on this offensive side of the football that also makes you go, God, what would we be with Javon Robinson earlier in the season? He and Peyton Barber look a lot alike, but I think that Javon's got maybe an extra little burst in there that Peyton doesn't. I'll take Peyton all day too whenever he's healthy. But both of these guys running together, they present a tough tandem to work with. Javon Robinson with 160 yards rushing, Peyton Barber with 40, so you have 200 yards rushing between the two of them.
Yeah, I think Javon Robinson, like you said, his emergence in the last 2 weeks definitely been a bright spot. You go back and was it the doghouse? There's no question he had a tweaked an ankle in the Louisville game, and then kind of re-injured it a little bit later on. And for whatever reason, it just didn't emerge. Things didn't come together until now, but it has come together, and that's certainly a good thing for Auburn moving forward. I think you're right. He does have a little bit more explosiveness. You saw about a 45-yard run for him. I think he doesn't have breakaway speed, but he's fast enough that he can get out, and he's just got great vision. And he makes quick moves, and he can get laterally. He just seems like a much more complete back. Sports Call today brought to you by Home Place Mortgage. Home Place Mortgage of Auburn and Lake Martin, the region's best mortgage professionals, and rates for all new home or refinancing mortgage services. Come to the right place. Home Place Mortgage of Auburn and Lake Martin. Be sure to check them out at homeplacemtg.com. We'll take your predictions this week if you want to go ahead and get it in today, but we'll be taking those for the rest of the week. Georgia at Auburn. I thought we'd go with total yards for Georgia with the emergence of the defense as they played certainly their best game, I thought, this weekend, holding Texas A&M to 303 total yards. It was a great game plan, but for once it seems Auburn was actually able to execute the game plan.
Yeah, they were, and the big thing with Kyler Murray is just keeping him not allowing him to hit the edge, and we didn't allow that, not allowing him to make plays with his legs when the play's already been broken down in the secondary. And I'm telling you, look at the stat line, he only has 8 carries for 37 yards. That's the big stat to me, because even back to the Louisville game for the first game of the season, when a quarterback wanted to move around in the pocket and make plays when everything's broken down, they've been able to do it against this Auburn defense. I think Carl Lawson clearly makes a huge difference. Casanova McKenzie made a lot of the big plays that you see there. And I don't know. I mean, you look down and Jonathan Ford, he's a tackling machine. He really is. Andy, every time I look down at the stat line, now he had a terrible game against LSU, but outside of that, Jonathan Ford has been unbelievable. How many double-digit tackle games has he had this year? 4 or 5?
Every game, I think, is a tackle.
It feels like that, doesn't it?
It is. I mean, like you say, except the LSU game, he's been our leading tackler pretty much for the entire season. And, there's just certain plays in the game Saturday that, one, they ran a little flare to Christian Kirk, or either he came on, I can't remember if he came and took the handoff. But, Casanova McKenzie looks at it, diagnoses it, and gets out there and runs down Christian Kirk. I mean, you see Stephen Roberts, a guy that hadn't played hardly any, comes up and makes one of the best, breakdown sure tackles on a guy like Christian Kirk. I mean, Nick Ruffin has one of the best hits of the game. And, I mean, you just look at these guys and you think, where have they been? I mean, Trey Matthews obviously is a good safety, and him being out, these guys have to step up. But we just talked about it. It's funny. I mean, we just talk about it and we say, where are these guys? And somebody calls in, last week, and then all of a sudden here they are.
You just feel
and
good.
They make plays.
You feel good for Jeremy Johnson. You feel great for Javon Robinson. You feel great for Opelika High School Stephen Roberts. I didn't know if he was going to hang in there. Honestly, when you look in a couple of years down the line, you haven't seen him out on the field, you go, well, unfortunately, it didn't work out for him for whatever reason, and we'll end up having him move on to another opportunity somewhere. Look at Jacksonville State this year, and they had a whole bunch of them on their team that were another opportunity somewhere else. Keep going down the list. Tony Stevens, only 2 catches, but 19 yards per catch average, 38 yards, some big catches also. Finally getting some of these players we had hoped to see throughout the duration of their tenure there at Auburn, and we're finally getting them out on the field and seeing the benefit of them being out there as well, Andy.
We do. Melvin Ray's a guy, every time he catches the ball, he's tough to bring down. I mean, and when he catches the ball, you still see things in this game that have been problems all year. Auburn gets in the red zone, and Jeremy Johnson makes one of the better throws of the night to Ricardo Lewis at about 3-yard line. Would have been a first down to give Auburn first and goal to 2. He drops the ball. I mean, that was really the only drop I think we had all night. But Texas A&M, I think 10 of 16 on third down. I mean, we still, as good as we played defensively, we held them 300 yards. We still can't. They still, got more than 50% on third down.
Huge difference is turnovers. We get 3 interceptions. That's been a stat line that a number of phone callers have called in and said, you look back in previous years, our numbers haven't been great, but we've stepped up and we've turned the football over on the opposing team to give ourselves a chance even though they move. That's the big stat that we were able to get on Saturday, Andy.
I looked at that play, Carlton Davis in the end zone, and I said that's the kind of play you'd see a cornerback from LSU or Alabama make. I mean, he's that kind of guy, I think. You always see a safety or a cornerback from LSU making these extraordinary plays. I think Carlton Davis really is that kind of guy. He certainly has emerged every week, and I think he's gotten better every week. And I think everybody accepts it now that he's about as good as he's going to be an all SEC kind of guy unless something something unforeseen happens. But my goodness, he just got such great instincts, and he just makes plays. And that's the kind of guy you got to have back there.
He's prototypical. He's been in on plays all year. I came here a couple of weeks ago and said, man, if he just turn his head. I know that's easier said than done when you're out there trying to cover these great athletes, but he seems like his timing's gotten much better. He's already physical enough. He's prototypical out there. He's physical even whenever they catch the ball and you're needing to make a play out in space as well. He's physical in that manner also. So we've got a long, good stretch to look forward to with him and a Will Muschamp defense.
Yeah, and you mentioned Carl Lawson being back, just his presence out there. I mean, obviously, he had 5 tackles on the night. I mean, you look up and I think before he came back, he had 4 tackles on the season. And now he's having 5 in a game. It just makes such a big difference. And I think it just seems like we said this at the beginning of the year, and it was hard to look and see it, but we said, I think by the end of the year, this team is really going to be starting to play some better defense. And it's, Muschamp said as much in his comments yesterday. He said, I know the statistics don't bear it out. But he said, I've been coaching football a long time. We've gotten better. We've shown improvement throughout the year. And I think we're maybe it's really starting to show up now. Now, again, it helps to play. Texas A&M's defense is an abomination. Okay, I mean it's bad, and that helps. That's why the big reason we ran 311 yards. Now, are we going to be able to do that against Georgia? Probably not, but maybe it'll get us over the hump. We can run, for about 220. That'd be nice.
That's going to be a huge storyline. Is Kentucky didn't have but 180 total yards, 79 rushing, 101 passing in the game against Georgia, and only gave up 3 points. So Georgia's defense stepped up to the plate also. Auburn's did as well, and it sets up a big rivalry game this Saturday, unfortunately, with an amount of losses that Auburn has and Georgia has coming into the ball game. An 11 o'clock kick, Andy. Nothing makes me my stomach turn more than 11 o'clock kicks.
Well, at least I can see clearly now the rain is gone. I mean, and I've been waiting to see the sun for a while now, and it looked good today. So maybe, and it looks like it's going to be pretty weather for this weekend. So at least that's a good thing. We're up against our first break here, but just getting started on the Tuesday Sports Call. We'll be back in just a minute. We'll take your phone calls. More Sports Call presented by Home Place Mortgage right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Call on this Tuesday afternoon. Andy and Randy here with you until 6 o'clock, taking your phone calls at 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free or locally at 334-887-3401 on the Auburn Opelika Tourism Hotline. Again, we're taking your predictions all week. Georgia at Auburn to be total yards for Georgia will be the tiebreaker this week. We put out a trivia question last Friday in the second hour, and nobody got it. So I'll just kind of continue that one on today, and it's pretty relevant because Daniel Carlson keeps getting better and better, actually. The question was revolving around his at the time, he was 14 of 17 on field goals. Well, he had 4 more Saturday. So now he's 18 of 21, which is good for 85.7%. Now, if the season ended today, that'd be good for 3rd all time in Auburn history. So the question is, who holds the Auburn record for best field goal percentage in a single season? We had a few guesses on Friday, but if you got that answer, give us a call, 1-888-9-TIGER-9 toll-free locally at 334-887-3401. A lot of talk this week. Gus Malzahn comes out last night on Tiger Talk, says that hasn't decided who will be the quarterback Saturday. So I thought that'd be an interesting question today. Who should start at quarterback for Auburn against Georgia?
Do you want to start?
Well, to be quite honest with you, I think if Sean White is 100%, I think he starts. If he's not, then I think you start Jeremy. I think Jeremy did enough and looked, good enough Saturday that you feel comfortable. And I think Gus made a good point. I said, I wrote this in my column this week. Auburn right now has got 2 quarterbacks that have proven they can win on the road in the SEC. That's not a bad thing. So, but to be quite honest with you, I still feel like Sean White gives Auburn the best chance to win. So, if he's healthy, and to be honest, I'm not sure he will be. So, if he's 100%, though, I put White out there.
888-9-TIGER-9, 334-887-3401. That's our question of the day. Who should start at quarterback versus Georgia? I'll go with you, Andy. I'll ditto you. And we don't do that too often, but I will here. I'll say, JJ, unless Sean White is 100% healthy. And to me, that answer is already out there. It doesn't look like somebody that hasn't practiced for a couple of weeks and hobbled around 2 weeks ago once he was out on the field can be completely healthy at this point in time. So to me, it's Jeremy Johnson's team. I'm just as confident with Jeremy in there, honestly, as I am with Sean in there at this point in time in the season. I've not seen either one of them go 18 for 24 for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns yet. We haven't had one of those games for Auburn so far this year. We've had more of a economical quarterbacking. Is that a good way to put it, Andy?
Well, that's the way we're going to put it.
That's the way we'll put it. When you look down, you're 13 of 17 for 132 and a touchdown. That's good enough football, but it's not eye-popping numbers. What's eye-popping numbers? Javon Robinson keeps going for 160, and the defense keeps giving up only 303 and gets 3 turnovers. That's what we need this Saturday. Did you watch much of Georgia this past Saturday?
I watched a little bit. I kept an eye on that game pretty good. It started out, it was kind of back and forth. Kentucky, I think, fumbled a punt and gave Georgia a short field, and that's how they scored one. But, it eventually got away from Kentucky. Georgia certainly was the better team. And the quarterback play at Georgia, though, it's just not good. Sonny Michel was kind of the star of the game for Georgia, and their defense, obviously holding Kentucky to 180 yards, that's pretty good. So, that'll be it'll be a challenge for Auburn to put up enough points. And it seems like as we go through this we keep talking about it, and I keep saying 30 is that magical number I think Auburn needs to get to, but it'd be hard to put 30 up on this Georgia defense.
I agree with you, but I think our defense can, if we need to keep them to under 21, 24 points, I think we can do that, because I don't look at this Georgia team and go, buddy, they're a lot better than us, because they're not. They're about equal with us, honestly. The quarterback's a manager at best, and their running back position, they're down to their second-string guy. We're not down to that, but I think Sonny Michel's good enough to start for a lot of teams out there, but he reminds me of a lot of what we'll put back there in the backfield. Probably not a Nick Chubb that's going to potentially go for 220, 230 like we saw Leonard Fournette do in the first half against us. But nonetheless, if they want to go in a wildcat position, which they did our formation that they did a lot and just give the football to him and ask him to go for like he did this past Saturday, which was 165 yards on 24 carries. He almost had average. This has been the one that has upset me more than any. Alabama, yes, is upsetting, but Georgia's had our number for way too long outside of 2010 and 2013.
Yeah, Mark Richt, 9-5 against Auburn in his career in 14 years. Are
they 6-2 in the last 8? I'm just off the top of my head.
Well, we won in 13. We won in 10.
But other than that, have we won?
No.
2005 was the last time we won, wasn't it?
Yeah, 5. Yeah.
So they're 7-2 in the last 9.
We won 4, 5, 10, and 13.
Okay.
I mean, in 2001, Rick's first year.
Okay, so they're 7-3 in the last 10.
That's not good.
And unfortunately, for too many of our rivals, only years that we're able to go to and say that we picked up victories is 10 and 13. When you look down in your conference record since 2008 is 30 and 32 now. That's
and the problem is most of these hadn't been close.
Oh, I know.
I mean that it seems like in 2006 you go back. I always go back to that year. I guess Auburn, had an opportunity. They were top 10 team, and it was just over and over. I mean, interception return, and it was a terrible first half for Brandon Cox. But that game got away from us in a hurry, and it was just an ugly. It really hadn't been pretty since.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Bobby, you're on Sports Call.
Hey, I'm going to answer the trivia question.
All right.
Is it Scott Etheridge?
It is not Scott Etheridge. Good guess, but he's not really not in the top 6.
Is that for the career or for?
That is a single season. Auburn record for best field goal percentage in a single season.
I know who it is.
Go ahead. Go throw another guess out there. I'll give you one more. It is Wes Byram. That was a good call. Yes, he was 15 of 16 in 2009 for a 93.8%.
Who are we talking to today?
Bobby Waldrop.
Bobby Waldrop. All right, buddy. We'll put your name in us pack every week as we get calls in for our trivia answers, okay?
All right, appreciate it.
Thank you, Bobby. 888-9-TIGER-9. Some good kickers during the last number we got right now.
He put one off the upright, still make it good. And I think I think it was Curtis. He keeps calling, or maybe it's somebody else. Keeps saying, he's our best player, and it's hard to deny. I mean, he's good, and it's a nice pet to have somebody that you feel comfortable with from 50. I mean, I think he is better this year from 40 plus than he is from 20 to 29. I mean, he's missed more from 20 to 20. I think he's missed 2 from 20 to 29. He's only missed 1, I think, from 40 plus, and that was a 50-something yarder. So whatever that miss against Nebraska seems to have, I think that really turned something inside of him, and he said, "Look, I'm not, I'm the real deal. I'm gonna prove it." So, and the touchbacks too. I mean, that you had to have some guy holding it because the weather and everything. I think that affected it against Texas A&M. But I mean, what a weapon that is! He's a great player for us. Up against a break here, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, hopefully we'll be connecting with Brian Matthews from AuburnSports.com. Don't go anywhere. More Sports Call presented by Lee Marketing Group right after this.
Now, I'm not going to say who it is, but he is one of our in-house Bammers, and me and him were having a talk, and I said, look, hey, wonderful for Alabama that they were in the top 4 in the college football playoff. But, again, we just had Ole Miss at Auburn, and we didn't play well. And anything that tells me common sense or my eyeballs tell me that that's not a very good Ole Miss team, and, of course, it wasn't a very good Auburn team. Now, we looked a lot better this past Saturday, so I at least have hope moving forward. But that same Ole Miss team that went over there and beat Alabama for the second year in a row at Tuscaloosa, they can't get away from that one, Andy, because, again, this is not a very good Ole Miss team. It is definitely not a very good offensive Ole Miss team. Is Bo Wallace, is he in reincarnate at quarterback? Does it not feel like the exact same Bo Wallace player when you look at Chad Kelly out there? What's he got, 12, 13 interceptions on the season? They still can't run the football between the tackles. And defensively, yet at times they look great, but at other times they give up 605 like they did in this football game. Ole Miss and Mississippi State, until they do get over the hump, there's no part of me. You can reel off, well, we won 3 or 4 against you, fine, good. Give yourself a chance to win something at some point before I'm going to sit back and listen.
Yeah, well, you can't lay this one at Chad Kelly's feet. I mean, he had 6 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 passing, no picks in this game. 368 yards passing. But how in the world you make Brandon Allen look like a Heisman Trophy candidate? Now, granted, he looked pretty good against us too, and he's gotten better. And I guess I should give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he's gotten better this year, and he deserves some praise because, he played extremely. I mean, he 442 yards and 6 touchdown passes in this game. It was a great game for Arkansas. I guess they're going to the idea for them is to get every game into overtime from here on out. And for this game, I mean, have you ever seen a game end on a stupider play? You throw on 4th and 25, you throw it to your tight end, and then he just heaves it backwards 15 yards indiscriminately to anyone in particular. And it just happens to bounce up to your running back, and he runs 30 yards for a first down. And then they go for 2. They decide, let's just win it or lose it. And you snuff the play out. You've got it stopped. Face mask. I mean, Ole Miss deserved to lose that game. So, I mean, they got exactly what they deserved.
Back to the phone lines. Terry, you're on Sports Call.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Good to hear from you, Terry.
Good to talk to y'all. I'm just curious about something.
plan was very, very simple. I mean, a lot of throws parallel to the line of scrimmage, a lot of quick slants. I mean, the one throw that he did make down the field to Kerryon Johnson on the wheel route, it was as beautiful a pass as has been thrown all year. So maybe he's gained some confidence. Maybe this will help him because certainly, with the health of Sean White up in the air, we're certainly going to need him in the next couple of games.
Well, he certainly has earned the right to start the Georgia game, and I think he will. But here's the thing. Even if he plays well and they call a great game against Georgia, it's going to take a lot more than 2 games to earn my trust back. Because every time he drops back fast, I hold my breath. And I think all Auburn fans do. I'm kind of curious, the kid from Mississippi that's committed by the webpage, he's a strong commit to John Franklin III. To me, in Gus Malzahn's offense, that's just me. Unless the quarterback is a true running threat, not a mobile threat, but a running threat, the offense can't be successful.
Terry, I can talk a lot about that, buddy. We sure do appreciate your phone call this afternoon, and Terry does a tremendous job. Terry from Talladega has been calling us for a long, long time. I had a unique insight on John Franklin. Actually, I don't want to throw the guy's name out there, but I had a recruiter that was at our high school game this past Friday night, and he is one of the coaches of John Franklin, very close coach to John Franklin. Franklin does not start at quarterback at East Mississippi. He is an athlete, and he's a project at quarterback, but he is a world-class athlete. This recruiter and coach told me he's a 10-200 guy, dynamic playmaker. They play him all over the field and try to get him the football. He can play spot duty at quarterback, but it's more of a mix and match like we saw with Nick Marshall. Now, Nick Marshall, if we